What has happened to our San Francisco 49ers as they have lost 3 games in a row? And of course, just yesterday, falling to the Bengals in an unfortunate fashion. Whoo! We're going to talk about our current read on the San Francisco 49ers roster, coaching staff, everything, quarterback, all of it. Heading into the bye, we're going to talk about um, what needs to change after the bye. We're going to talk about potential trades, all of it. And this is also going to most likely be a venting session for a lot of our fans in the chat. So, hey, don't hold back. It's fine. It's a grumpy Monday today. So we're going to get into it all. But before we start our venting, before we get into all that, drop your SDS in the chat and we are going to have a nice little therapy session and discuss what's really going on with the San Francisco 49ers. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, gang? Oh boy. When it rains, it pours for the San Francisco 49ers. What a tale of 2 seasons it feels like right now for the 49ers. Going from 5-0 to 0-3, heading into the bye, just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like the San Francisco 49ers are themselves. And it's become an interesting situation with what's been developing for the San Francisco 49ers throughout the last 3 weeks and what's kind of been a culmination of just unfortunate circumstances that have played out that have lend itself to the 49ers losing 3 in a row. Just very uncharacteristic play right now from the San Francisco 49ers. It's a team that feels a little bit unrecognizable. And I think that's one of the more concerning things, I think, for fans. I can speak for myself, but we're also going to check in with you guys. Obviously, I wasn't able to come on last night to do a live reaction show. I brought my son to the game, and I just, at the end of it, I was like, man, I don't even want to talk about this game. I was kind of, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of frustrated by this game. Um, you know, especially fresh off of going to Minnesota, watching that game play out, and then going to this game and watching what happened with the Bengals. I was just like, man, I'm frustrated right now, to be honest with you. I was like, I'll do a live tomorrow morning. I want to gather my thoughts because I'm exhausted, as I'm sure you are. It already feels like this year has been like 3 individual seasons in of itself. You had your off season, the whole quarterback controversy. Then we get through that. Then the 49ers go 5-0. And now we're in like this third season where the 49ers are now 0-3 heading into the bye. And the energy around this team has really taken a dip. Uh it really has, and it is concerning at this point. I'm one that will be typically optimistic, one that will be like, all right, let's chill, let's calm down, let's take a look at this, let's see why all this stuff is happening. But I think at this current state right now is like there are concerns with this team. There are concerns with how they're playing. I mean, I think one of the more concerning things is when you hear that the players talk about this situation right now. They feel like they're at a loss for like why this is happening. They're like, man, 5-0 on top of the NFL world, leading all all the power rankings and MVP like front runners and all this different type of stuff. 49ers were at the top of the world just 3 weeks ago. And then go to the Browns, a game they should have won. They lose. We know why. Missed opportunities. Then you go to Minnesota and get completely outplayed by an inferior team on Monday Night Football. And then you come back home and you face a good team with a good quarterback, good weapons, and it continues. So, like, when I listen to these players talk about it, you can see the frustration. You can see it like in their face that they are trying to figure out what the heck is going on right now with this team, why they're seemingly spiraling out of control and all these different things. So it's been an interesting season so far. And trying to identify what is wrong with the San Francisco 49ers, because that's obviously going to be the main talking point up until this, like where we're at. When you go 5-0 and then you lose 3 in a row, what's wrong? Why are the 49ers seemingly all of a sudden lost their mojo? Why does it feel like that scene from Space Jam when all the top players get all their talent sucked out of them, and it just feels like they're you know like when Muggsy Bogues like gets like they like suck the talent out of them, and they're just like, oh, they can't do anything. It just kind of feels like we know they're good. We know they had talent on this roster. We know they're capable, but they just keep putting themselves in bad positions. And as a result, they are fumbling opportunities to win games. I feel like when we look at the first like series of the game, 49ers go 3 and out to start the game. They aren't able to convert a second and short, third and short, and then they punt, which I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like it. I understood it, but I didn't like the punt. It felt like going 3 and out on the opening series was like the last possible outcome that we needed to have right there. It felt like this was like a tone setter drive. Like we needed to go out and we needed to move the ball, and just going 3 and out and then punting and then again missed opportunities. 49ers had an opportunity to sack Joe Burrow on a 3rd and long. He gets out of the sack, completes the pass, and they go on a drive and they score. And I was just sitting there in the stands and I was like, this is the worst possible outcome you could have dialed up for this game. Like, this is worst possible outcome. This is not the way you wanted to start this game. If you could think of any way of how not to start a game, that's how the 49ers started against the Bengals, outside of like an opening drive turnover from the 49ers offense. So it just started in the hole. They just started in a really bad spot. And then it was just like, I don't know. I don't know if this team has a different thought process, different mentality when playing from behind. It just came down, and it's tough because the 49ers did play decently well, right? They were able to create some turnovers. They were able to keep points off the board. They were able to score as well, but when it all comes down to it at the end, it was a little too late. And obviously, Brock Purdy had some uncharacteristic turnovers. That's kind of, I think, something that, I like Brock Purdy. I've got a lot of belief in Brock Purdy. I still think Brock Purdy can really be that guy for the San Francisco 49ers. but you have that missed opportunity in the red zone where he threw that interception to Pratt after a missed handoff. So it's like a misread. And then he kind of like compounded the issue by making a bigger mistake by throwing an interception. He shouldn't have thrown the ball at all because based on the run pass option situation, you have to get the ball out right away or else you're going to get illegal man downfield. So at that point, the decision to throw was you shouldn't have thrown it at all. But I can understand in real time everything's kind of going, and you see Elijah kind of open, and he tries to take the shot, throws an interception, he throws it right to the guy. That was just like, oh, that is where I think the 49ers like really got put in a bad spot because they had an opportunity, I think, at that point to tie the game. And then they give the ball right back in the red zone. No points. And then more uncharacteristic turnovers from Brock. Obviously, Brock made some plays down the stretch. He scored the touchdown to CMC. Made some crazy throws. But unfortunately, just not enough at the end. And he played really well, I thought, up until that situation where he threw the interception. And so I obviously see a lot of people piling on Brock Purdy. A lot of people piling on, and we knew this was going to come. We've talked about this for a while. The second Brock Purdy was going to struggle, we knew the struggle was coming. We just didn't know exactly what it was going to look like because he is such a young quarterback that we knew that he couldn't play at this high of a level for such an extended period of time. So Brock played well enough to keep the 49ers in the game. Obviously, the turnovers are always going to be highlighted by the quarterback, and understandably so. Made some poor reads, but honestly, I have less of an issue with Brock right now. I have more of an issue, I think, with the team uh, in general. Like it just feels like when we look at this team, they are built to play complementary football. They are built to 49ers offense, keeps the other team's defense off the field. 49ers offense scores points, gives the 49ers defense ample opportunity to get after the quarterback, puts the opposing teams, puts them in the stress area, and they're able to go back and forth. It just feels like we haven't seen the complementary style football that we've become used to. And I think a big part of that is just what's going on with the defense right now. I know a lot of people are upset with Steve Wilks. I know, but see, this is where I'm having an issue with like the Steve Wilks slander. It's not necessarily an issue, but it's like there's a lot of blame to go around. I know a lot of people, it's really easy to just be like, Steve, you are not cutting it. You're not doing a good job. Look at what the defense looked like with D'Amico Ryans. Now look what it looks like with you. But at a certain point, it's like, man, you still have the same defensive staff around these guys. It's just now Steve Wilks instead of D'Amico Ryans. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans is a phenomenal coach. We've talked about it before. You go back to 2021, and one of the main reasons why the 49ers were able to win that game was because of the scheming that D'Amico Ryans did in coverage and what he was able to do to protect guys like Ambry Thomas getting their first start and things like that. But I know Steve Wilks, I've questioned a lot of the things that he's done in the NFL or with the 49ers up till this year. But it's also, there's a duality to it. It's like, you've heard Talanoa Hufanga say it. You've heard Fred Warner say it. These guys got to play, man. The plays are made on the field. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, are there instances where it appears that our defense is put in a weird situation based on coverages, based on play call, whatever? Yes, that does occur. But honestly, it's like, man, our guys got to execute. It's a twofold situation. It's not just the play calls; it's the play on the field. Like going back to the Browns game, the Browns game might be the game that we might reference back to for a while because their offensive line figured out how to neutralize our defense. Um, when you look at how the 49ers played against the Browns defensively, uh, they were carving us up. They carved us up in a way that I haven't seen in quite some time. And since then, it feels like the 49ers defense has just made major regressions. And whether it's missed tackles, missed opportunities, a ton of penalties, like it's just they're not playing sound football at when it's all said and done. But it's also not just the defense. It's like we can't run the football. The 49ers right now cannot run the football. Um, we can't run the football. And this team is predicated on running the football. And when we talk about complementary football, it all starts with running the ball. It all starts with this team being dominant on the ground. When we think of the 49ers offense and their dominance for the last couple years, we understand it all starts on the ground. And when they're not being able to move the football on the ground, they don't win games. It's just it's very simplified to say that, but in reality, that's what it is. They got to be able to run the football. Outside zone isn't working. Gap scheme isn't working. They're not getting enough push on the ball. All five guys aren't executing at the same time. And it's been a consistent issue for the last couple years. But Christian McCaffrey, when he comes in, he makes things look a lot better than they really are because McCaffrey is such an elite running back and so slippery and just has this natural ability to find creases in the running lane. He makes things look uh he kind of can put a little band-aid on it. And just right now, our run game isn't where it needs to be. On top of that, we get penalties, puts us behind the sticks. Um right now, when I look at this team, I don't see a team that has a ton of margin for error. When everything is cooking and working, they're fine. We've seen it. They've dropped 42 points on the Dallas Cowboys head. When everything is working and they're in rhythm and they're in phase and they're playing complementary football, the 49ers look unstoppable. But when they're not doing that, they look extremely, extremely concerning. So I believe who are the 49ers, right? I think that's been the main question that I've seen posed today, from whether it's fans, content creators, reporters, media heads, whatever. It comes down to who are the 49ers? We now have a ton of sample. The 49ers have 8 games to reference. Obviously, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, completely different sides of the spectrum. So it's like, who are these guys? Who are they? What are they capable of? Are they a mirage? Was the first 5 weeks smoke and mirrors? And as teams get settled in with their identities, as teams continue to improve from the first 4 or 5 weeks, are they getting exposed? And I think those are the questions that are being asked today. And the way that I'm looking at it is right now, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't concerned. I still have faith that they're going to be able to correct this and they're going to be able to figure this out. But they can't do it with penalties and lack of execution. They got to execute. And it goes back to fundamental things. It goes back to all five guys playing, starting with the offensive line. I mean, not just the offensive line, it's a defensive line. This team is built in the trenches, and right now we're getting out trenched. Whether it's defense, whether it's offense, that is where we are struggling. And until those two positions can take those steps forward, that is going to be an issue because that is also going to affect play calling. It's going to affect what looks you can get. It's going to affect multiple things. So we know that this team is built and predicated on winning in the trenches, and they're not winning in the trenches. The biggest thing over the last 3 weeks is they are getting outworked in the trenches. You guys know I live and breathe in the trenches. I love trench play. It's the game within the game. And right now, the 49ers have been dominated the last 3 weeks in the trenches. And that, I think, is the most concerning, is I can live with Brock Purdy right now. Obviously, there is a bit of a trend bubbling up with Brock Purdy that is concerning. And this is what that trend looks like. I do think it's correctable. But when Brock Purdy is leading in a football game, he has 117.8 passer rating, 0 interceptions. When Brock Purdy is tied in a game this season, he has a passer rating of 113.5 and 1 interception. When Brock Purdy is losing in a game, he has an 82 passer rating and 4 interceptions. And obviously, those interceptions resemble the last 2 weeks. So there's so many different issues. It feels like all the issues have percolated and showed up at the same time. Trench issues, we've got dropped balls. I think of like Kittle dropping passes. I think of Ayuk dropping passes. I think of missed reads. I think of not seeing the linebackers in the middle of the field that turn into interceptions. And so the thing is, you can correct a lot of those things. You can correct concentration drops. You can correct the way you're seeing the field. Those are things that are correctable. So I'm not thinking it's the end of the world, but what we have, what feels like what's been developed is trends, right? We see the trends that have kind of reared its ugly head and they persist through 3 weeks. And I do think that is what's very concerning. So how do the 49ers fix these issues? How do the 49ers get back on track? Because what we've seen the last 3 weeks isn't a team that is going to go far in the playoffs. That's just what it is. If that's the type of performances that we are going to put out on a week-to-week basis, 49ers aren't going to go very far in the playoffs. So, what has to happen? They need to win in the trenches. Offensively, this run game needs to get going. They have to figure it out. And if that means they need to change something up front, if they need to try potentially shifting some pieces around, then I that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Is we got to figure some stuff out. So, what does that look like? I don't know. But 49ers offensive line needs to be performing at a higher level. Obviously, you don't have Trent Williams for the last 2 weeks. That is obviously going to impact the 49ers mightily, because they do have a ton of success running to the left side. But struggle bus right now. It's crazy because I think we can look at every level of this team. Offensive line has had struggles. Running backs have had struggles, with ball control. Quarterback has struggled. Wide receivers have struggled with drops or routes. You look at the defensive line. Defensive line has struggled stopping the run, getting a pass rush. They were able to get 2 sacks. Eric Armstead had 2 sacks. They were able to generate pressures, but just not enough. Just not enough. And then you look at the linebackers. Linebackers are really, really struggling. Defensive backs are struggling. Safeties are struggling. So, it's really hard to point the finger at one issue. That is where my concern lies. Is that there's not one thing, just one thing that's been the issue. It's literally at every level of this team there has been issues. So how do we correct this? How do we move forward? I mean, I feel like yesterday I was watching Kyle Shanahan on the sideline, and Kyle Shanahan, I think after they scored that awesome touchdown from Brock Purdy to Christian McCaffrey at the end of the game to bring it into a one score game. And it was up to the defense to be able to get a stop and get the ball back to the 49ers offense, but the defense couldn't stop anything. And I was watching Kyle Shanahan as the Bengals moved into 49ers territory into field goal range, which again effectively sealed the game because it would put the game back into a 2-score game, and the 49ers didn't have enough time to recoup from that. Kyle Shanahan yeeted a tablet. He could have handed it off to the guy, but he just tossed it. And to me, I was like, yeah, he knows. He knows we just lost the game. Yeah, there's time left, but considering how we're playing, how difficult it was to, overcome that turnover in the red zone that potentially could have tied the game, to then going down 2 scores, then getting a score, and then needing a stop from the defense. And Kyle Shanahan took that tablet and yeeted it. I was like, yeah, that's about right. That's about accurate of where we're at with this game. So when we're looking at the Bengals game, I think it exposed some of the issues that we have and we know we've had these last couple weeks. But it also reared its ugly head when you're playing a good team. We knew that this was a big game because this was a good team. It was a good team with a good quarterback, great weapons, and it was a game where it was like, man, this is a put up or shut up game. and we didn't put up. So let's get to some optimism. A lot of doom and gloom so far to start the show, but let's get to some optimism. The 49ers can correct a lot of these issues. Are there a lot of issues that are extremely concerning? Yeah. Yep, there are. But there are ways that the 49ers can help. I think right now, one of the ways that you have to attack this next 24-hour period, you have to go get some difference makers on that defensive side. And you want to know why? Because just right now, per Ian Rappaport, the Giants are finalizing a deal to send Pro Bowl defensive lineman Leonard Williams to the Seahawks. So just right now, as I was getting ready to say what the 49ers need to do, the Seahawks just got better. The Seahawks just got better. We saw the Eagles get better, and now division opponent Seattle Seahawks just added one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. They gave up a 2024 second rounder and a 2025 fifth rounder for one of the best interior offensive linemen or defensive linemen in the NFL. So, just as I was about to say, the 49ers need to add. They need to add more talent. And just as I was about to say, the 49ers need to add more talent. The Seattle Seahawks, which the San Francisco 49ers have not played yet, and who are playing at a decently high level, just made a massive, massive move for a very, very cost-effective price. So again, 49ers, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they got to make some moves right here. Their defense has not been up to par. And now your two NFC opponents that have a chance to knock you out of the playoffs just got better. The Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks aren't at this point someone that we can take lightly at all. At all. And now they add to guess where? The trenches. The trenches. And that is where the San Francisco 49ers need the most help. And they just up north just got better. Up north just got better. That's a huge trade for the Seahawks for nothing. A second rounder and a fifth rounder for one of the best interior defensive tackles in the game. That's nothing. 49ers, your move. Your move. We can't lose the trade deadline. We can't. We can't afford to lose the trade deadline. James says, I said on this channel a year ago that this team was built fundamentally wrong. Kyle will not win a Super Bowl here. It will be the next guy who finds the franchise quarterback first. I stand by that. James, feel free to stand on that. That's a take that I think obviously we won't know until the 49ers either have won a Super Bowl or Kyle Shanahan is no longer the coach here. But as we know, Kyle Shanahan is under contract after taking signing a 6-year contract extension this season. So there's still plenty of time before that could ultimately come to fruition. So you could be right at the end of the day, but honestly, we don't know. We just don't know. There's still time. The season's not even over yet. So there's still time. There's still time to figure this out, but hey, if that's where you want to stand on, that's fine. Um I'm not going to bet against this team just yet. That's not where I would place my beliefs. I still think this team has an opportunity to get this back on track uh, and get this figured out. Um, Dude, they almost won a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, and again, that is the past. That is years. That's almost eternity ago. So it's not an excuse or anything because you ultimately got to win it. But there's still opportunities. So uh, we'll see. We'll see. I think it's too soon to say that Kyle isn't going to win one with the 49ers, but it's been an uphill battle so far. So the biggest issue, though, again, comes from the holes on this roster. And what I think that the Seattle Seahawks just did was put the 49ers on notice. The 49ers are officially on notice right now after the Seattle Seahawks just traded for one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL, where the 49ers have struggled in the trenches. What are the 49ers going to do? We heard that the 49ers have been calling on Jalen Johnson, cornerback for the Bears. I feel like that would be a phenomenal addition. I feel like he would cost less than Patrick Surtain. You would have to pay Jalen Johnson, but the 49ers do have a ton of cap space. So, and the 49ers are reportedly also kind of in competition with the with the Bills and the Cowboys. So again, the Cowboys it's very similar to this situation with the Seahawks. If you know that your NFC rivals or division rivals are in on a player, then you have to potentially make moves to also block these other teams from getting better as well. It is worth it to make your team better and block another team from getting a player that will make them better. So, man, I know right now, I can probably guarantee you that inside that building in Santa Clara, with this news dropping that the Seattle Seahawks just improved their team, the pressure just got ratcheted up another level for the 49ers to go out here and make a move. With the 49ers going 0-3, I've seen some people talk about the 49ers need to be sellers, not buyers. I disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. This team, to me, still has an opportunity to go far with how they're built, but they need to inject this defense with more talent. We would assume that having a defensive line of Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, linebackers, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Gibson's played pretty well. Ward, that would be enough. It's not enough. It's just not. So the 49ers need to be active. They need to go get someone, whether it's a cornerback or edge. I think they need to get both. Whether it's Montez Sweat, Chase Young, if they somehow find a way to pry Brian Burns away from the Panthers, they need to make a splash. They need to make a splash and go get someone. They need to go get someone. They need to inject this fan base, this organization, this locker room with a belief that they're just not going to ride into the sunset with their current roster as it currently stands. They have to go be aggressive. It's just what it is. They have to be aggressive. As you can see, the Seattle Seahawks think they can beat the 49ers. That's how I look at that move by the Seattle Seahawks. I look at a move where they are saying indirectly to the San Francisco 49ers that we're coming at your neck, 49ers. We see the issues that you guys are going through right now, and we think you can be had. So you know what? We're going to go out and we're going to get a difference maker. And I think that the Seattle Seahawks just put the Niners on notice with exactly how they feel with this move. To me, if I'm inside that building, that to me tells me that this Seattle team thinks they can beat the 49ers. And I will take that personally. Because they made this move to get past who? To get past the 49ers. Don't get it twisted. Seattle Seahawks' number one priority right now is winning the division. And with the 49ers going into an 0-3 skid, they now have an opportunity to. Without having played the 49ers yet, that opportunity is real for them. So guess what they're doing? They're putting their best foot forward to make sure that happens. What are you going to do, 49ers? What are you going to do? Seahawks are like, we got you right where we want you. We got you right where we want you. Put up or shut up time. So, like I said, I still think the 49ers are buyers because I think the 49ers can correct a lot of these issues that they've had the last 3 weeks. A lot of it has come down to just missing opportunities. So if you just switch that and start taking advantage of some of your opportunities, you're going to start winning more games than losing. So, but if you need to go get more talent, you got to go get more talent. It just says what it is. What moves do you guys want to see the 49ers make? Brad, do you think Wilkes can turn this defense around? We haven't been solid since the beginning of the year, as shown by stats for each game. Man. It's concerning at this point. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe if you get him some better cornerback play, you get him some additional edge help. I don't know. Does that change? Does that change how he calls games? Does that change how the defense responds to certain calls? So I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could say yes, Steve Wilkes can turn this defense around, but as you alluded to, Jason, there have been issues all year. So who knows? Maybe an injection of talent could help. Could help get us back on track. But I absolutely hate seeing the Seahawks get better. I hate seeing the Seahawks get better. I don't like that. I don't like it one bit. I don't like it one bit. And I know you don't either. So tired of the 10-yard receiver cushion. It's driving me batty. Yeah, it's been driving me crazy since day one. But then, they get into man coverage, and then you see, Isaiah Oliver get beat for a touchdown by Jamar Chase, which again is Jamar Chase. So that's definitely a hard ask for Isaiah Oliver. But this defense looks a lot different without Jimmy Ward out there. Jimmy Ward really, really helped a lot. And I don't know. We're just not getting the same level of play out of Isaiah Oliver. It's just a lot of off coverage, man. A lot of off coverage. I don't know, man. It's tough. Tough scenario for the 49ers. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the 49ers do throughout this bye. Obviously, crucial 24 hours coming up with the trade deadline. And we just saw the Seattle Seahawks get better. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles get better last week. But that's not it. I think we also can't be naive to the fact that just trading for someone is going to fix our problems. I think it helps get the energy and the juice back on track to be able to get the trade of a high level player and to be able to get someone solid in here. But that's not going to fix the problems. And I think we have to be cognizant of that. These guys have to play better. It's just It sounds so easy to say, but they just have to play better. They got to execute. They got to execute, and they got to execute. They got to wrap up. They got to tackle. They got to swarm. And we got to put ourselves in better positions to make plays. And we got to make the plays. We clearly have shown that if we don't take advantage of certain opportunities, that is enough to bite us in the behind. So we got to get better. We got to execute. We got to play. Even if for whatever reason the 49ers don't make a move, I would be shocked if they didn't. But let's say they don't. The 49ers still do have quality players. We do know that they are capable. They have to execute. So simple. So simple. But it's really what it comes down to. Tough situation, though. Because I think it's just such a stark contrast from what we saw at the beginning of the year to what we see now. And it just feels like this team is a little bit unrecognizable right now. And it just feels like they continue to beat themselves. That's the hardest part. You've beaten yourself. Yeah, yes, the other team gets paid millions of dollars as well. And there's a lot of talent on the other side of the football, and you're going to play good teams and all that type of stuff. But man, when you go back to the Browns game, 49ers beat themselves that game. That's what it came down to. They beat themselves. Even with how poorly they played, they still had a chance to win that game. They didn't win it. Beat themselves. You go to Minnesota, the 49ers defense just was like free first downs, free. The 49ers defense was handing out first downs like it was candy. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like it was Halloween and all the little kiddos were coming up to the door like ding dong, like, can we have a first down? And the 49ers were like, here, take as many as you want. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't 49ers football. This isn't the defense that we've come to hold in the highest regards. So the 49ers gave away that game against Minnesota because they couldn't force a punt to save their lives. And then just all the issues like seemingly came to a head against the Bengals, and you can't do that against good teams. So I can't imagine that the conversations inside those locker rooms are good. They're not super optimistic. I feel like if you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're Steve Wilkes, if you're a position coach, you are getting on your guys. You are getting on your guys. Like, what are we doing? Why aren't we executing? So today is a bit of a vent session, right? Today is we got people smashing the panic button. We got people who are definitely concerned, and rightfully so. I'm concerned. I'm concerned with what we've seen over the 3 weeks. You put together 3 weeks of similar issues on tape. That's kind of who you become. Like that's more than one-off issues. It's becoming a trend. The fact that it's becoming a trend is what is ultimately concerning. And I agree with this comment from Charles. I'm not smashing the panic button yet because the 49ers are 5-3. I'm never going to smash the panic button when the San Francisco 49ers are above 500 and still have a shot at the playoffs. As you guys know, as I know, all it takes is getting hot at the right time. Now, we got hot early and we have cooled off significantly. However, they've got to get hot when it becomes most important, and that is at the end of the year. Obviously, you can't go with a crazy stretch in the middle of the season where you just drop 6 to 7 games. That can't happen. But what you have to do is you have to get hot at the right time. We've seen teams that have gone 9-7 into the playoffs and win Super Bowls. We've seen it happen before. I'm not saying that that's going to be the 49ers, but we also have to keep that into perspective right now when we feel like the 49ers are spiraling a little bit. Yeah, is that unfortunate to see the way they've played the last 3 weeks? 100%. Is it concerning? Absolutely. Are there questions, genuine questions about this team? Absolutely. But it is a very long season. It is there are plenty of opportunities to correct. So, I'm not smashing the panic button. I'm not giving up on this team just yet. I don't think they are completely just a lost cause. I don't think that's the case. I think this team has plenty of opportunities to get back, execute, play cleaner football, minimize the penalties, fix some things up front in the trenches, and get better and get back to playing 49ers football. So, all that being said, are we upset? Are we venting? Are we concerned right now? Absolutely. I mean, you heard these players talking about this game leading up to it. Fred Warner called this a must-win game. They all knew how important it was to get this dub heading into the bye. Now we got 2 weeks to fester on all the issues. And they didn't want that. They wanted some positivity heading into this bye. All right. Well, here's one way to look at this. Yes, did we all want positivity heading into this bye? Maybe this is the look in the mirror that the 49ers needed. Maybe they needed to go into the bye with a 3-game losing streak to really shake their mentals, their core. Like, this is how easily this can be ripped from you. This is how easily you're a good team, you're a good roster, you have good coaches on your staff. But if you don't take advantage of your opportunities, if you beat yourselves, if you can't execute, this is how quickly a winning season can be ripped away from you. So, maybe this is what they needed. We'll find out. We will find out on the other side of the bye. We're going to find out really quickly who this team is made of. There's nothing like adversity to show a team's true character, right? Adversity comes with the territory. Football is in its essence adversity. Football is who can overcome adversity the most sometimes. Sometimes it's not about playing perfect ball. Sometimes it's about who can overcome adversity the most. And so right now, the 49ers have an opportunity to look adversity dead in the face. Fan base is chirping them, media is chirping them. Everyone's chirping the 49ers right now. Everyone. How do you respond? Championship caliber teams, you know what they do? They respond. They bounce back. They're able to take all the scrutiny, all the noise, all the perceived issues and answer. So, if that's what the San Francisco 49ers are, if they are a team that is destined to be a champion, well, guess what? All champions go through adversity. It's not an easy path to be a champion. It's not a cakewalk. It's not the yellow brick road. So you're going to have bumps and bruises along the way. The best part about all of this is they can get this potentially out of the way now. Get the scars now. Get that scar tissue, get that feeling of just being down and out and having to pull yourself out the gutter now while you're 5-3. And if that is the context in which we're looking at this, if the 49ers add some additional talent at the trade deadline and they prove to everyone that they're still in this, all right, let's get after it. Let's get after it and let's see who we really are. And so that's going to be the big point of emphasis for the 49ers moving forward is who are you? Who do you want to be? And how do you respond? And championship teams respond. So let's see what we get. If we come out the bye, they look flat, they look lethargic, they're not executing, there's more penalties. We're going to hop right back on and be like, all right, we got some real issues. But right now, as we stand with the 0-3 skid heading into the bye, there's still time to correct. And there's still time to get this back on track. So we got to focus up. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe a little adversity, maybe that little bit of a we're in the gutter type feeling while being 5-3, I might add you, could be enough to get these guys' minds right and get them back in a spot where they win this game. Or not win this game, but they get back on track. So this is going to be a big 2 weeks for the San Francisco 49ers. It is going to be a massive 2 weeks of dwelling in just this grossness. In this bleh, bleh. You think we got a little overconfident early on? Can't help but think the Dallas game was our Super Bowl. The Dallas game definitely wasn't our Super Bowl, but we definitely got a little bit over our skis. I think, we've been a pretty humble team, and I think we have gotten humbled since we kinda, you know, I wouldn't say that Dallas game was our Super Bowl, but we talked. We banged our chests, we were flexing on everyone, letting them know that we're that team. And then we haven't backed it up the last 3 weeks in a row, so it's compounded. It's compounded on us in a negative way. But like I've said before, like there is something magical about feeling like you're in the gutter and having to force yourself out of it. So we found ourselves at the tippy top and we've gotten knocked down. And although it is a terrible feeling right now, there is something special about being a high caliber, high performing team that feels really bad right now. And the sense of urgency that is wired into your brain, mind you, being 5-3, like I said, it sucks being at this point, but there is a sense of urgency that can be injected into this entire fabric of the team right now that we need to we need to whip this into shape. We need to pull ourselves out of this hole. I'd much rather be in a situation where the 49ers have to pull themselves out of a hole at 5-3 than 3-5. That is a lot different of a scenario. I would much rather find this type of adversity now at 5-3, feeling like the whole world is caving in on them, but you're still 5-3. So, but you have that feeling that you aren't 5-3. You have that feeling like you're 1-7. It's kind of what it feels like. So, we're going to find out who this team is on the other side of the bye. We're finished. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. It's a long season, man. It's a long season. I do not agree with that mentality that this team is finished. Do I think there are serious issues that they have to look at themselves in the mirror and correct? 100%. But they're not finished. And if you think they're finished, then I I just don't agree. I don't agree. I don't agree with that notion at all. I can't look at a team that's 5-3 dealing with this rough patch right now and be like, they're finished. They're cooked. Do they have some real issues? Absolutely. But you have to be able to identify which issues are correctable and which issues are not. And I would say like 80% of the issues that they're dealing with are correctable. So to me, they can't be finished. They're just not. They're just not. They're just not. Thinking they're finished, I feel like is being a prisoner of the moment. You know what I mean? Roberto Davis says, Brad, is it time to replace Burford with Feliciano? I haven't watched the tape yet back. So I haven't watched this tape yet. I still got to do my tape study. And like I said, I was at the game, so it's really hard to analyze offensive line play. If I get through this tape and Burford had there's two types of issues for an offensive lineman. There's ones that I can live with, ones that I can't live with. If Burford is making more mental errors, like mental mistakes where he's out of position, using incorrect technique, doing those types of things, and it's contributing to loss, like him losing, um, this might be the time to make the switch. I know that they really don't want to bench Burford. They want to keep Burford's confidence up. There's a Burford has so much potential um, to be such a really good offensive lineman in this league. He really, really does. But at a certain point, if he is continuing to make mental errors that are contributing to him getting beat, then I do think you have to look yourself in the mirror and consider a switch to Feliciano. Because when Feliciano came in for Aaron Banks, he did not skip a beat. He was on point with everything. We know Feliciano can be a starting caliber offensive lineman in this league. So if Burford is struggling to that point where he's still making mental errors, he's still making the similar issues that have plagued him in the past, then I think you have to consider it. I think you have to consider it for the betterment of your team. And unfortunately, you have to make that decision for the team over the player. I like Burford a lot. I want Burford to maintain that starting role and continue to be the starter for years to come. But if he's struggling to that point and you have a player of Feliciano's caliber, I don't think you can let it continue to linger on. So I have to get into the tape. I haven't watched it yet. So I cannot give you a definitive on Burford right now. Um, but if we get into that tape and it's an ugly showing by Burford for the reasons that I've mentioned, then I think it would have to be considered. I do. I think it would have to be considered. Um, for sure. Um, I could do a film breakdown today. Like I said, I gotta just get into the tape and I gotta do it. Um, I wanted to come on live earlier because I didn't come on live last night. So and talk about the game. But I could do a film breakdown. We could do a film breakdown later today and see what it's about and all that type of stuff. So it I know it's like a post mortem, but we could do potentially film breakdown later today. Try to identify what's going on a little bit more, and all that stuff. But we'll see. I'm probably going to come back on later today. First round bye means nothing if you're peaking and hot. I mean, yes, first round bye is very important. You know, I was at the game um, in Philly, and I can tell you directly how having a home field advantage directly impacted the outcome of that game. When you think of that fourth down conversion to Devonta Smith, um, if we were at home, you best believe the replay person in the stadium would be throwing up the replay immediately and showing that it wasn't a catch so that Kyle could throw the challenge flag. They didn't do that. They did not do that. They did not show the replay, and they didn't show the replay for good reason. So that is just one instance of how home field advantage, something as simple as that, um, can change the potential outcome of the game. Because, like Kyle talked about, he's like, I couldn't see. It looked like a catch. We could only see on the replay that it wasn't a catch, and that's the one of the stark differences of having home field advantage versus not. Home field advantage is going to immediately throw up or not show a situation that could potentially lead to a turnover or not a turnover, and that ended up being a huge play in the game. Changed the entire outcome of the game. So you want first round bye. You want the first round bye. You want home field advantage. That's the number one thing. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, it's going to be a long 2 weeks. I really hope Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are on the phone right now trying to make something happen. We need edge. We need cornerback. I don't know what this particular comment is about, but I do want to bring this to you guys and think about what you have to say about it. Do you guys feel like the 49ers just waste timeouts? Am I the only one that feels like this? Am I the only one that feels like the 49ers just waste timeouts? Like, I think of the 49ers trying to score points at the end of the half and not having any timeouts. And I was thinking about earlier in the game how they just burned like 2 timeouts, and I'm like, "Why are we calling a timeout?" You know, like, I was like, "Why are we call?" There's like and then I'm like, I felt like I didn't understand why we are calling a timeout. Obviously, they have clearly a much better understanding than I do, but I'm like then I look at them trying to score down the stretch, and they have no timeouts, and I'm like, "Oh, well, this would be a great opportunity. This would be great time to have some timeouts, wouldn't it? But it's like I just feel like we burn timeouts like they don't even matter. And I'm just like, why are we doing that? Like, why are we doing that? I'm throwing it out there because I saw that and I just remember watching the game. We called a super early timeout, and I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, why did we just call that timeout? And then, sure enough, down the stretch, we're trying to score points, and we're behind the clock, and we have no timeouts, and we come up with 0 points as a result. And I'm just like, that'd be a great opportunity. That would have been a great time to have some timeouts, but I don't know. I've just noticed that this year. It just feels like there's it's like they don't, timeout, whatever, just burn it. But I'm like, yeah, I feel like it'd be wise to have some timeouts in your back pocket because we seemingly find ourselves in position to score at the end of games, but we don't have timeouts. And I'm like, I feel like that would be an ideal scenario. But anyways, that was just something that I thought about in game and all that type of stuff. So we'll see. But as you guys know, if the 49ers make a trade, we're going to be posting about it. We're going to be going live. We're going to be reacting to it. So Seattle made a move. I hope the 49ers are on the phone trying to get after it. So we'll see. But I'll probably be coming live back on later today, either to hopefully talk about a trade or potentially do a film breakdown. So we'll see. We'll see. So stick around. Appreciate every one of you guys. I know today's been a hard day and it's going to be a hard 2 weeks, but we'll figure out how to get through this. I just want to shout out the SDS. We got to stay strong. I know it's really easy to succumb to the emotions and believe that we're cooked, believe that we're finished, but I do think there's still light at the end of the tunnel. And I understand that it's easy to get really down and out with this team right now, but it is important to remember that they are 5-3, and there is beauty of having to pull yourself out the gutter, especially at this stage in the game. We'll see how the 49ers respond after the bye, but I do appreciate all you guys. I understand this is going to be a challenging 2 weeks. It's been a challenging past 3 weeks, but I still have faith in this team. I still have faith that they can go all the way. And if they can correct these issues and fix some things, I think the 49ers can be back on top before we know it. So shout out to all you guys. Appreciate you as always. Grab your cookies on the way out. Smash that like button if you haven't already. But I'm still riding. I'm still riding with this team. And if I'm out, I'll tell you I'm out. But I'm not out yet. I'm not out. I'm not even close to being out yet. Still lots of football to be played. Lots of football to be played. I think I'll leave you with this. The biggest takeaway from this season so far is that we can't get too high and we can't get too low. We saw how high we got at 5-0, and we're seeing how low we're getting with 0-3. We have to find that middle ground of not being able to kind of overreact one way or the other, because there's still so much season left. There is so many games left to be played, and we got lots and lots and lots of games to be played. So we're not out yet. But I understand. Where a lot of us are feeling concerned, but there's still plenty of time for this team to bounce back. So appreciate you guys. Like I said, might come back live later today for a film breakdown and things like that. But we'll continue to monitor the whole situation and see what happens at the deadline. Hopefully the 49ers make some moves and they get this thing back on track. But I appreciate you guys as always. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see